You're listening to Hawk Talk with former Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
Play fake, going to roll right, dumps it off into the right flat to Michael Bumpus, who bounces off of one tackler, gets inside the 40, down to the 35-yard line.
Powered by Seahawks.com.
Matt pump fakes, looking to the goal line. He throws it into the end zone. Touchdown Seahawks! It's Michael Bumpus with a diving catch in the end zone. A 10-yard touchdown reception for Bumpus, and the kid out of Washington State has found himself a place on this team.
Now, here's your host, Nasser Kyobe.
Welcome into another edition of Hawk Talk. The Seahawks getting ready to travel down to Santa Clara to take on the San Francisco 49ers. We're broadcasting live from the Seahawks podcast studio, presented by Sony, the official partner of the Seattle Seahawks. Bump, it's been a little eventful week.
It has, man. It's been had some time off. Some changes happened, but we are here once again doing what we do.
Yes, we are. The bye week, I'm hoping it treated everybody well. The Seahawks got some time off, got to retool, rethink some things. And like we said, there was some moves this week. Seahawks made a change at linebacker on Monday, releasing Tyrel Dotson, who started the first 9 games of the season. Also, cornerback Josh Jobs was signed off the practice squad to fill an open spot on the 53-man roster. On top of that, tight end N'Keal Harry, former first-round pick, was signed to the practice squad. Now, Dotson was one of the big free agent acquisitions this offseason with Jerome Baker coming in at linebacker. He signed in March. And don't take the word from me. Let's hear from the head coach kind of about what went into the decision to release Tyrel Dotson.
We really appreciate T-Dot. I mean, he's worked extremely hard, rehabbed, throughout the offseason here. I think this was an opportunity for us when we kind of sat and took a step back and realized where we were at. It was really the best thing for us to move forward that way, give the other guys in the room an opportunity to step up. I hope those guys grab that opportunity by the horns and take it and run with it. And then it gives Tyrel an opportunity to find another spot somewhere else, so he can finish the year strong. So that was the thought behind it.
Bump, when you saw that move, what was kind of your first reaction?
First reaction was, I appreciate them making moves now and not just waiting and saying, all right, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Because obviously they weren't getting what they wanted out of Dotson. I also appreciate them letting him go because that allows him to go find work elsewhere instead of having him sit on the bench and then having a rookie kind of take over in Tyrese Knight. And now you lost your spot in your mentoring. You're not getting plays. My man led the team in tackles. So I appreciate just the business side of this because this is a business and people – if you didn't understand it now, then you understand it now. Like, if you're not doing your job the way they want you to do it, they're going to let you go. But I was surprised because you look at the stats and you feel like Dotson was a big part of what they're doing. And the numbers can fool you. That's why it's so tough at linebacker. Numbers can fool you. You see all the tackles, all the snaps, you go, he must be okay. But it's in the details. So now I'm just happy for the youngster Tyrese Knight.
Yeah, it should be really fun to see what Tyrese can do. He's going to get the first crack, as Coach had said. And then Drake Thomas is another guy who got to play a little bit earlier. And I think it's a big thing that both of them got some playing time early, started some games from Jerome Baker early in the season to kind of get used to it. So it's not going to be the first time out there against the 49ers starting. Tyrel Dotson, I had nothing but good things to say about him. He was a great dude in the locker room. He did everything that was asked of him. He's a good player, too. It just didn't work out here.
Got picked up already.
Yep, he's on the Dolphins, and we'll see now. But the Seahawks moving on. Ernest Jones, Tyrese Knight taking over in the middle at linebacker. Those are the roster moves. Now let's put our focus back into those 49ers. What's on tap?
What's on tap?
The San Francisco 49ers. Seahawks fans are pretty familiar
a little bit
with this
ball
club.
About them.
They're 5-4, second place in the NFC West with wins over the Jets, the Patriots, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, and the Buccaneers. Losses to the Vikings, Rams, Cardinals, and Kansas City Chiefs. And they're kind of on their way back, Bump.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 2 straight and 3 of their last 4. Their only loss, no shame there, to Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs. And they're getting a lot healthier. They bring back Christian McCaffrey, the all-pro running back. But their game against the Bucs, Bump, actually came down to the wire. Not the game we thought it was going to happen, but it was a close one.
It was a close one. It was interesting watching Christian McCaffrey. He don't look like he's 100%. You see there's a little, I still got to feel my way through this, so we'll see what happens. But let's talk about that game against the Bucs. 49ers racked up a ton of yardage, almost doubling the Buccaneers, 413 to 215, but left 9 points off the board when kicker Jake Moody missed 3 field goals. And Deebo Samuel was not happy about that.
He was not. And I mean, things happen. I feel like people made a big deal out of it. Energy's hot on the sideline. You feel like you're doing your job, and that unit of the team isn't. Things are going to happen.
It's accountability to me.
Yeah.
It's like he's walking over like, come on, dog. Like, I see 1. Okay, I can take 2, but 3? Come on, man. You got to do your job. And that's all he was saying. Baker Mayfield, he led a drive to set up the game-time field goal with help from 3 straight personal foul penalties and a crazy 4th and 7 conversion. My man was running to the sideline. Bosa had one arm. He's fighting him off, and he makes that throw. I was losing it watching that game. I go, there's no way Baker Mayfield makes that throw, but that's exactly what he did. After the field goal, the score was tied 20-40. Sorry, tied at 20 with 41 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and at that point, they really messed an opportunity there.
Yeah.
It's like 1st and goal from the 5 or something. When they didn't score, I was nervous. I didn't think what was going to happen is that they were going to give that up as quickly as they did.
Man.
Brock Purdy wastes no time right down the field setting up the redemption. Jake Moody gets out there, connects on a 44-yard field goal, and they win 23-20.
Debo, take him out to drink. Take him out to dinner, and all is good. You know? That's what happens. It's football. Things happen.
Yeah, I don't think he took him out there.
Nah, he didn't do that, though. You know, Purdy finished the day 25 of 36 for 353 yards and 2 touchdowns. In his return, Christian McCaffrey had 107 total yards, 13 carries for 39 yards, 6 receptions for 68 yards. The 49ers also did not ease him back into the game. He played 88% of the snaps. They said, you healthy.
We're going to run. Let's go.
Play.
No, that's that. I mean, McCaffrey scares me because he is what he is.
Yep.
Best running back in the league. We're going to talk a lot about him. The fact that he's back is tough, but they got a ton of other weapons. Jennings, 7 receptions, 93 yards, coming off injury. Ricky Pearsall, great story.
Great story.
4 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown. And there wasn't a whole lot of offense for Baker Mayfield. Finished the day 18 of 29, 116, 1 touchdown. So there was an opportunity. The Seahawks were hoping to get some help. That didn't happen. The 49ers find out a way to win, and that's what they've been doing recently. Bump, when you look at this head-to-head, what stands out?
You look at the rankings on the Niners side. There's a whole bunch of single digits out there when it comes to their ranking. They're 2nd offense overall, 5th when it comes to running the rock, 2nd when it comes to throwing the thing, and 7th when it comes to scoring points. Defensively, 9th overall, 8th against the run, 12th pass defense, and then 17th when it comes to points. On the Seahawks side, a lot of 20s in there, but they still are the best passing game in the NFL.
I like that. That's where we're beating them. We are number 1. They're number 2. Yeah, you look at it, obviously, defensively is what stands out. The Seahawks obviously have a lot lower numbers, 25th in total defense, 26th against the run, 20th against the pass, 23rd in points allowed. Obviously, we've talked about this a lot. Damage was done early on in the run game. That's why the numbers look like they do. Silver lining, the boys played a lot better against the Rams. I'm hoping they can kind of put that together, especially after this bye week, and turn things around there. We are broadcasting live from the Seahawks podcast studio presented by Sony, the official partner of the Seattle Seahawks. These two teams have played a ton recently. Let's know the history.
Know your history.
Hawks lead the all-time series 30-23, 29-22 in the regular season, 1-1 in the postseason, including the playoffs. The Seahawks have lost the last 6 matchups.
Man.
It pains me to say that because it's wild. It doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it has been because of the dominance that was before. The Seahawks were 16-4 in the previous 20, and the Niners have their number, unfortunately, right now. And last game, Bump, that last Thursday night, that was a heartbreaker.
That one hurt.
Because unfortunately, like most games have started during this losing streak, the Seahawks fell behind early, trailed 23-3 with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. That's when Laviska Shenault took things into his own hands, takes it 97 yards back on the kickoff return, got the Seahawks back in the game, 23-20. Seahawks get a stop, and then their best drive probably we've seen in the last 6 years against the Niners. 13 plays, 94 yards, ending with a 1-yard touchdown run by Ken Walker. Made that a 1-possession game. Unfortunately, a little bit of miscommunication on the following offensive possession. Geno's trying to link up with DK Metcalf. That ball gets intercepted. The Niners get in the end zone a couple plays later, George Kittle. But the game was not over. Seahawks would respond again with a 15-play, 70-yard touchdown drive, ending with a 9-yard touchdown to Tyler Lockett. And the thing that sucked, Bump, was DK had a long touchdown about 3 minutes earlier in the drive, which really would have helped how that game finished. Fortunately, though, the Seahawks were still in it. 1:44 left in the game. The Seahawks had all 3 timeouts, 1-possession game. They needed to stop to try to come back and win it. Unfortunately, on that first play, Isaac Guerrero takes it 76 yards, kind of sealing the game. Geno finished today 30 of 52, 312 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Ken Walker had just 32 yards and 14 carries in a touchdown. Brock Purdy on the other side, 18 of 28, 255, 3 touchdowns, and Debo had 3 receptions for 102 and a touchdown. Box score wasn't great. Seahawks were outgained 483 to 358, and the turnover battle lost 3-0, and the Seahawks were outrushed 228 to 32. Despite all that, Bump, they had a chance.
They did have a chance. And the reason why the rush numbers are so low is because when you're down 2-3 scores from jump, you got to throw the football. Geno threw the football 50 times that game. 50 times. He's still the only quarterback this year to throw for 300 yards against these guys. Though that sounds good, balance would be nice this game. Balance. But still had a chance. That's all you ask for. End of the game. No matter what happens, you still have a chance at the end of the game. They had that, just couldn't finish.
Absolutely. And hoping that tide shifts a little bit, because we'll talk about it a little later. You can't get down to a good football team like that because it's hard to play one-dimensional with guys like Nick Bosa and other people on the defense. It is hard. But let's flip our attention to what's going on in the rest of the NFC West. What's the word?
Where my soldiers at? West side! Where my soldiers at? West side! And the Seahawks are the NFC West champs again.
What's the word in the West on Hawk Talk?
Everybody's still in the fight. Everybody's still in the fight. Arizona Cardinals 6-4 at the top of the NFC West. You got the Niners at 5-4, and the Rams and Seahawks are knotted up at the bottom at 4-5. The Cardinals, man, they won 4 games in a row, 5 out of their last 6. It's probably time to start saying that these dudes are for real.
Yeah.
You got to respect it. You are what your record is, and your record gives you the number 1 spot in the NFC West. For the Seahawks, they're now 4-5 and currently in last place in the NFC West, but they're not out of it, like I mentioned. However, 3 of the next 4 games are against divisional opponents. The next month will be huge in deciding the Seahawks' playoff fate. These are must-win games. Starts with the Niners. I'm glad they're getting them off a bye. More time to prepare. The guys are getting healthy. You made a couple changes, and now you get to go out there and ball out.
Yeah, it's probably the first time I feel like we've, in this streak, where the Seahawks have had the advantage in terms of rest heading into this game. So they're definitely going to need to take advantage of that bump. Jets and Cardinals, what went down?
Man, it was not close from the opening whistle. It wasn't close. Arizona led 24-6 at a halftime. The Cardinals had a 239-85 advantage in total yards. Kyler Murray is looking good, man. The Jets were shut out in the second half, and the Cardinals rolled to a 31-6 victory. Kyler Murray playing his best football in his career, and that's why I look at Gannon and what he's doing over there. And you see the progression. It takes time in the NFL. People want instant satisfaction. We saw the struggles last year, but somehow he's gotten into Kyler Murray's brain and has allowed him to flourish. He was 22 of 24 for 266, 1 touchdown, and also rushed for 2 touchdowns. At one point, Murray set a franchise record with 17 straight completions. James Conner, running back over there, had 103 total yards and 1 touchdowns. The Cardinals also outrushed the Jets 147-79. Aaron Rodgers was less than impressive. That's his whole year, is this less than impressive.
I mean, that's a good way of putting it.
This is who he is at this point. My man is 40. He's 40, goodness. 22 of 35 for 151, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And he was also sacked and fumbled on 4th and goal from the 3rd-yard line. It's almost like his mistakes they don't resemble the mistakes of the past. Like the mistakes of the past were him trying to make a 50-yard pass down the field when they really needed it. It's interception. It just feels like things are much harder for him with the Jets, even though he got the homie Devontae over there who had 6 receptions for 31 yards.
Yeah, not good enough. It's I'll just say this. Things can be worse.
It could be.
Things can be worse. As bad as it's been recently, things can be worse. Seahawks fans, so keep mind of that. The Cardinals have a bye week, and they're going to be well-rested when they take on the Seahawks at Lumen Field in 2 weeks, so that's going to be a big one, a big game for sure. Elsewhere in the division, Dolphins went to the Rams. The Seahawks finally got some help.
Did us a solid.
Finally. Thank you. Thank you, Tua. You looking good now?
Hey, but Tua, man, don't be trying to tackle nobody after interceptions. You see that? Tua, get out the way. Come on, man.
Do that like the kicker, like punter drive-by where you look, you're going to do it. And you
the Janikowski. Remember Janikowski did that?
Yes.
Run it, let him go, man.
Stick it on
Trip
now.
him. Get a penalty. Just trip him. Get a penalty. You're good.
Anyway, speaking of Tua, he was 20 of 28, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Not amazing stats, but where he made his money was on 3rd down, 9 of 12, 137 yards alone. Tyreek Hill only had 3 receptions, but caught his first touchdown since the season opener. And the Rams outgained the Dolphins 327 to 238, held a slight advantage time possession, but the difference was their inability to score in the red zone, having to settle for 5 field goals. Stafford finished the day 32 of 46, 293, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Kyron Williams was held to 62 yards on 15 carries and fumbled once. Puka Nacua led all receivers, 9 receptions for 98, so he was still doing his thing. And the Rams are going to head to New England to play the Patriots on Sunday. So hoping the Seahawks can get a little bit more help there.
That's a lot to ask for, though. The Patriots.
I don't know. Drake
Rams.
May is kind of slinging that thing, though. Is he not, though? He's doing his thing
he's
a little
growing.
bit.
He's maturing in front of our very eyes.
Yes,
Go get him, Drake.
Yes, he is. Let's flip it back to these 49ers and man up.
Hey, who man's is this? Who man's is this? Man up now, man up, man up, brother. Man up, brother.
Man up on Hawk Talk.
We always start with the quarterback bump.
Yep.
Not going to be any different here. Brock Purdy taking on this Seahawks defense. And Purdy, again, he's an interesting one. We know he's a good quarterback at this point. I think that's pretty self to say. He's had some up and down moments so far in 2024. He's also been without some of his top guys. Brandon Ayuk, done for the season after week 7 towards ACL. Christian McCaffrey was out this entire year. He's finally coming back. Deebo Samuel has only missed one full game, but he's been in and out of the lineup, a couple different injuries. That being said, Purdy's coming off the best performance of the season last week. He was 25 of 36, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, which was a season high in passing yards. Also finished today with a career high 158.3 passer rating. That is the best in his career, obviously, and the best for the 49ers in a game where you had at least 25 passing attempts. So Purdy did his thing last week. But the thing about Brock Purdy, Bump, is turnovers.
He'll turn that thing over.
And it really, if you look at the numbers, it's the key to their success, honestly. Purdy, when he takes care of the football, the Niners generally win. And when he doesn't, they generally lose. 6 of the 7 interceptions he has this season have come in losses. The 49ers are 1-3 when Purdy is throwing an interception, and they're 4-1 when he doesn't throw a pick. And the Niners, the one thing they do struggle in is your red zone.
Which is surprising.
It's shocking because they're kind of struggling in the red zone the last time we played them, but the numbers have not evened out. They're only scoring touchdowns 47% of the time, which is 28th in the National Football League. On the year, he's 181 for 278, 2,454 yards, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 2 fumbles lost. He also has 227 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. Last week, the last matchup against the Seahawks, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So here's the thing, Bob. If you got to find a way to turn the ball over. When he's taking care of the football, he is really hard to defend. He extends plays. Paul Moyer's talked a lot about this, about his ability to extend plays, and that the Seahawks were actually in a lot of good places the last matchup, but he would extend a play, and then he would kill you. He would leak out 10 yards down the field. He can play some really good ball, and the way to beat them is taking that ball away. So we'll see if the Seahawks can get that done on Sunday.
Him extending plays is like a little toddler when they're trying to run from you before the bedtime or whatnot, and you're right there and they just slip right by you. That's Purdy, man. He's got 23 rushing first downs. That's second on the team. So that third and short situation, he's good for it. He has a quick burst. He's not going to run for 35, 40 yards. He's not even – I would say he's quicker than Pat Mahomes, but Pat Mahomes just has a feel for angles and stuff. But he's got that quick little burst. That's what makes him dangerous. He will get you. So, man, grab him. Get him to the ground and do it often. Let's talk about our quarterback. Geno had an interesting game last week, man. He was 21-34 for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns, had some clutch throws. He looked good at times, but there was the turnover issue. He had 3 interceptions. So he opened his presser following the Rams games with these comments. He took it. Look, he goes, look, first of all, I want to start off by apologizing to my teammates, really, and to the city, to the organization, Smith said. They put a lot of trust in me with my decision-making. And when they put the ball in my hands, when my teammates play the way they played today and give us a shot to win the game, I've got to make sure we do. The things I did today, mistakes I made, they affect us negatively and really cost us the game today. Me knowing myself, I know how much this is going to hurt. I'm going to step it up, though. That's how I feel about it. I'm going to step it up. He did what a quarterback is supposed to do.
Right.
It ain't all on Geno. But he is the quarterback. He's the face of the franchise. He realizes that. He steps up to the podium every game, win or lose, and he takes the bullets. That's what he did right there. Geno, I know it ain't just you, though, okay? You got to take some responsibility. Right. There were some throws, a throw that I feel like that was on him. But there's some things that happened that's out of his control, but he did what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, but to your point, I don't even think that was necessary because of it's a team game and all that stuff. But I love to see the accountability, and that's just a leader 7 is.
Yep, that's what he does. So Geno, through 10 weeks, this is where he is. He's 4th when it comes to passing yards. He's 11th in completion percentage. He's 3rd in completions and 4th for attempts. Against San Francisco, all right, in his 5 starts, he struggled a little bit. He's 128 of 188, 68% completion, 1,180 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's been sacked 15 times with an 0-5 record. That surprises me. Even though you read out the stat that they're 0 for their last 6, I just knew Geno had at least 1 win against these dudes. But it's been attributed to a lot of the pressure, right? That's why he's struggled a bit. And there's no secret this line has struggled. So obviously Geno's going to struggle. So we'll see what he does against the 9th defense overall and 12th against the pass.
Yeah, they're a good football team. We know that. And part of it is you can't get down to these massive deficits because whether you're running the ball well or not, it's about the illusion that you can. And if a guy like Nick Bosa and all those guys can just get ready for a passing down every single time and you're asking everyone to pass set a million times, that's not a recipe to win.
No.
Almost against anyone in the National Football League. So I'm hoping the Seahawks can get that going and Geno can get off to a little bit better start against these 49ers. Flipping it to the do-everything Swiss Army knife, Christian McCaffrey, back taking on the Seahawks front seven. We know how dangerous he is. His resume speaks for itself. 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 2023 AP Offensive Player of the Year. But he's been on IR since September 14th. Hadn't played until this last weekend. He had to go down and see a specialist in Germany, working on his Achilles tendonitis or wherever he got done. He's back in the lineup. You talked about it earlier, 107 total yards. He played 88% of snaps, so they didn't ease him into the ballgame. And they're definitely not going to ease him into the Seahawks week. He's got another week under his belt, and he's dangerous. And it's how you attack him, and it's being your rush lanes, all the things. You have to be perfect against this guy. But what makes me positive, it gives me a moment of clarity. It's like, no, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
It's what the Seahawks defense did against the Rams last week. Mm-hmm. Before last week, the Seahawks had given up 150 yards 4 straight weeks. Okay, they held the Rams to just 60 yards rushing. First time they've done that since the Detroit game. They ranked 26th in the NFL, allowing 139 yards per game. Obviously, that's not where they want to be, but they showed us something last week. Now it's also going to be different because now you have a different linebacker combination that's playing this week. Ernest Jones has been here for a little bit longer, so he's getting even more of his legs underneath him. And then you throw in the rookie Tyrese Knight / Drake Thomas. We'll see how Dirty and McDonald switch up the defense in terms of packages, nickels. They talked a lot about Devin Witherspoon. Is he going to get a little bit more pressures? Because the numbers show when he does blitz, the Seahawks defense is performing a little bit better. So we'll see what will happen there. But, like, when you're playing this team, Bump, you got to be so right. Your eyes got to be on point.
Perfect. Your eyes got to be on point because they're going to make you cross-eyed with all the stuff they're doing, a pre-snap, a pull this way, roll that way. They got to be on point, and I'm encouraged. I want to see what the young Mr. Knight can do with that squad. All right, let's talk about their wide receivers, man. Goodness gracious. Deebo Samuel, you know the man. And Juwan Jennings coming off a good game. Ricky Pearsall, great story like you mentioned. My man was shot and just scored his first touchdown last week. Every position group on this team has talent, but they are without Brandon Ayuk. He tore his ACL, as you mentioned earlier, in Week 7. But you know what? I don't feel too bad for them. I feel bad for Brandon Ayuk, but not for this team because they're good. All right, they still got Deebo Samuel, and we know he does a little bit of everything, man. He's got 40 overall touchdowns in his career, 40. It's like 20 pass, 20 run. It's ridiculous. He had one of his best games of the season against the Seahawks, where he had 3 receptions for 102 yards, including that big 76-yard touchdown. I believe, was that right after halftime? It was like after we answered.
No, it was earlier. It was earlier in the game because remember it was a play that like looked like Julian Love was trying to make up for it, kind of misjudged it. I think that's went up 14-3, but it was a big play.
Yep. On the year, he has 29 receptions for 468 yards and 1 touchdown. Also has 26 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. Probably the biggest surprise of the season is Juwan Jennings, man. Jennings, he's last year he had 496 receiving yards. Oh, he already has. Excuse me. Let me start that over. Sorry. Probably, man, one of the biggest surprises of the season has been the emergence of Juwan Jennings. Jennings already has better numbers than all of last season, 497 receiving yards. He made his return to the lineup on Sunday after missing several weeks with a hip injury. Against the Bucs, he led all receivers with 7 receptions for 93 yards. In the first matchup against the Hawks, he had 3 for 27 on the year, 32 receptions, 497 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And now the young man from Florida, Ricky Pearsall, caught his first NFL touchdown this past week against the Bucs, just 10 weeks after being shot in the chest during an attempted robbery. The fact that he's playing now is just amazing. My man was shot. Nas, and he is he is in the league and making plays. And I watch him on film. He's not just a guy who's out there. No, he's a route runner. He has great hands to run after catch is crazy. He's going to be a problem.
He wasn't a first-round pick for no reason. Yeah. Right? And the crazy thing about that story, you read up on it, the God was looking down on it. Mm-hmm. The fact that the bullet went through, didn't touch anything on either side. I mean, first of all, and he was a G. He just walked up, got in the ambulance. I'm like, holy, he's a problem. And you watch this Bucs game, and you watch him, and you're like, oh, he's going to continue. He's starting to get his legs underneath him. He's going to be a problem, and the Seahawks are definitely going to have to come with it. They're 20th against the pass line, 218 yards per game. So we'll see what between Spoon and Reek and now Josh Jobe, who looks like he's going to be the next guy, that third guy at corner.
Like
so we'll see what
that's
he
a
can
good
do.
story too, Josh Jobe.
Great story. Let's flip it to our receivers. DK Metcalf, JSN, Tyler Lockett. JSN is coming off one of the best games in Seahawks history. That's the crazy thing. So he had 7 receptions, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Those were both career highs. He joined a list with only Tyler Lockett and Steve Largent as the only members to have 180 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. That was with having 78 yards receiving taken off the board. He would have been number 2 all time in like 250-some reception yards if those penalties didn't happen. Unfortunately, they did. So it was Jason's second 100-yard receiving game. And I'm hoping he can build off that because he's kind of showed you the blueprint. We talked about this before. He had that little screen. He showed some wiggle. Now he's getting over the top. All the things that we thought we were going to see when we drafted him. And he's always had it. So it was really cool to see him kind of show that off last week. He's tied with DK Metcalf for team-leading receiving yards. He's got 50 receptions, 568 yards on the year, and 3 touchdowns. Last time against the Niners, he was 5 receptions for 53 yards. Now, DK Metcalf.
Come on, DK.
Hoping to make his return to the lineup after being out the last 2 weeks with MCL injury. Coach McDonald's been optimistic all week. We're going to have to wait and see. They're probably going to take that up to game time. But we know how dangerous DK is and what he does to a defense when he's on the field. Despite missing 2 games, DK's still up there. He's got 568, 3 touchdowns. The last game against the Niners, he had 3 receptions, 40 yards, had a 50-yard touchdown taken away via penalty. So hopefully DK is back out there. And then you got the OG, Tyler Lockett.
16.
Mr. Consistent on the season, 34 receptions, 456 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But I saw this stat, and it blew my mind. I didn't even think it was real. But Tyler has not had a 100-yard game since week 13 of 2022.
Lies.
He's had a couple in the 90s.
That's
just
crazy.
It's just when you think about that because he's just so consistent.
Yeah.
All that tells me is, oh, boy's due.
He's due.
He's due for a big one because he's too consistent. And if the Seahawks are running the ball and doing different things, he can be a guy that's going to be in there in the slot causing havoc. Against this Niners team we talked about, 12th against the pass. They're 6th in the NFL in interceptions with 10 and 8th in the NFL passes defended. And the other dude just got paid. So the Lenore and Ward, those got some good corners. So the Seahawks receivers are definitely going to have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, man. Come on. That's the trio right there. We need them to ball out. And we need the offensive line to take care of a man by the name of Nick Bosa. If you don't know who he is, you must have just started watching football. Because in 2022, he was the AP Defensive Player of the Year, 18 sacks. He was voted to the Pro Bowl and finished 6th when it comes to MVP voting. The last game against the Seahawks, he had himself a good game, but if you don't know what you're looking at, then you might say, what are you talking about? He had 4 tackles and 2 QB hits, but he was all over that game, man. 14 pressures according to NFL Next Gen Stats. It was the league's most productive outing in that regard since Bosa notched 14 pressures in 2022 in a win over the Rams. So far on the year, 32 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 8 TFLs, 15 QB hits, 1 forced fumble, 1 pass defended, 1 interception. Nick Bosa will be a problem for this defense, for this offensive line, excuse me. Nick Bosa, just watch him work. His stance lets you know he's here for business, right?
Yeah.
The way he gets back there, and he's relentless, man. He's one of the best defensive linemen I've seen watching the game in the last 25 years, and he's going to be a problem. So we'll see what Cross looks like against him because he'll see him. We'll see if Abe plays, if he'll be a problem too. Fingers crossed. So we shall see, but O-line got to be ready to go because Nick Bosa does not play.
Gosh, I really want Abe to come back, man.
Yeah, me too.
Again, I don't want to put all the pressure to expect him to be the savior of this group, and all of a sudden they're going to be a top line in the game. But he brings that dog, that nastiness. Abe is the nicest dude, silent, but when you get on the football field, the 72 is a problem too.
He's a problem.
I'm excited to see. Hopefully he can come back. We'll definitely wait and see on that. Probably going to take that up to game time. And the last match we want to look at, you want to talk about another old reliable, one of the best to do it in the game, George Kittle. And, man, second in the NFL in receiving yards among tight ends. 43 receptions, 560 yards, 7 touchdowns. His 7 receiving touchdowns is second in the entire NFL. He's a guy that'll pancake you. He'll beat you over the top. He's just a matchup nightmare. Last game against the Hawks, 5 receptions, 58 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They got weapons, Bump. We know they got weapons.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, I think this is it. I think this is it.
Will
it into existence, please.
I hope you're right. I will. I'm with you.
It's been a week. Coach McDonald got the boys right. I'm feeling good about this one, Bump. Let's tell everyone how the Seahawks are going to get this done. Path to victory.
At the 45, waits for the snap. Michael Dixon puts it down. That kick is away, and that kick is good! The Seahawks win! It's good!
It's a path to victory on Hawk Talk.
If last week was one of the biggest games in the Coach McDonald era in such a short time, this one's even bigger.
Facts.
The Seahawks are 0-2 in the division, 1-4 in the NFC, and this game is going to have huge playoff implications. It's one of those things you got to get in there and slay the Giant. The Seahawks have lost 6 games in a row to this 49ers squad.
Slay the Giant. I like that. In order to change their fate, the Seahawks need to start fast and stop digging themselves in a hole, man. During their 6-game losing streak, the Seahawks have trailed at halftime by a combined score of 104-36. Math ain't my thing, but that don't sound good. That don't sound good. The Hawks have led at halftime only once during that stretch, in 2022 wildcard game against these guys, and have trailed by double digits in 4 of the last 6 games. You cannot win that way. You got it. I'm not even asking to be up by a bunch at half.
Right.
You just be within striking range. So now you can run the football. You can call the game that you want to call if you are a grub, instead of saying, all right, Geno, let's throw the ball. They've thrown the ball, 385 times, and Geno's been pressured like 130-something times. Like, it's a lot to ask that offensive line to protect that much for that long,
right,
and for Geno to perform at a high level.
Yeah, you can't play from behind against a good team. It's going to be hard to beat anyone in the NFL when you're behind that much and you become one-dimensional. The Hawks have also struggled to run the ball. During that 6-game streak, the Seahawks are averaging just 67 yards per game rushing, 3.7 per carry, 108 carries for 404 yards. So that's also not going to get it done. And then you alluded to it, they got to protect Geno. Nick Bosa cannot ruin the football game.
Please
can't
don't.
have double-digit pressures.
Yep. And red zone. The red zone's been an issue.
Yeah.
These past few games. So take care of the ball and execute. We can't have the high snaps or the interception. You just have to be efficient down there. And if you do that, you give yourself a chance to score some dang points.
Got to have it. Seahawks, I don't want to say have to play perfect, but they have to come out and start fast and play well like we know they can.
Yep.
They have enough guys on this roster to get it done. The Niners they're not the Kansas City Chiefs right now.
Nah.
They're 5-4. They've lost 4 games, and they've looked bad in some of those games. I know they're a good football team. We just talked about a half hour talking about how good of a football team they are. But the Seahawks have some dudes, too. We're hoping they can get that done. Reminder, you can hear us everywhere on YouTube, Seahawks.com, podcast, Spotify, SiriusXM, and more. We're under YouTube under the Seahawks Press Pass channel. We'll be talking to you next week, hopefully about a Seahawks victory. He's Michael Bumpus. I'm Nasser Kyobe. This has been another edition of Hawk Talk. Talk to you guys next week.